Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and I am preparing to head back to Universal Ostrich Farms. In case you missed it, the Supreme Court of Canada notified the public late last week that this week, November 6th, on Thursday morning, they will be handing down their ruling on the farm's application for a leave, that is to pursue a hearing in the Supreme Court to further challenge the Canadian Food Inspection Agency's cull order on their healthy flock of hundreds of ostriches. I will, of course, be your eyes and ears on the ground at the farm on 301 Langdale Road, and the farmers continue to invite anybody who wants to come in peace and stand with them to camp out during the moment when they'll find out whether or not they're getting another miracle, which would cause the birds to live months, I'd say into the next year, if they're about to have a hearing to appeal the lower court's decision on this matter, or if they're going to get that horrific news that despite all of their efforts and all of the logic and all of the science to support that these birds should survive, it wasn't enough.
These animals are suffering under the care of Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and there is no reason for the suffering. We are asking for everybody in Canada to rise up. This is the perfect weekend to take to your town or your city with your family and support change.
And the CFIA, who's been camped out on their property for nearly 40 days, will be free to slaughter their healthy flock of ostriches. You can support our costs, our journalism to go back there yet again, camp there at savetheostriches.com. But for now, I bring you an interview with Katie Pasitny about the latest with how the farm is feeling, some of their concerns about the CFIA's care of the animals, including the count of animals, as well as the tragic loss of one of their faithful supporters named Tom. All right, Katie, fill us in. How are you, the other farmers, and the supporters feeling now that you know that Thursday is a big day?
Well, it's been emotional. We knew that this was coming, but it's a very important day for all Canadians, not just for us, because in the news and everything that we're listening to, I mean, since September 2020, or since September this year, 4 million birds have been killed. And then I believe the dates were since 44 million birds were killed from January to May 2025. So what this shows is that also mass killings are not working. They keep saying that there's horrific methods being used, like ventilation shut off, the suffocation from foam, and barbaric tactics that are really dressed up as humane actions, and they're not. We're fighting for a resolution or for a solution to mitigate this pandemic that they're saying, and that could be the next pandemic. But what the truth is that this is an endemic, because avian influenza has been around since 2004. And we're seeing an increase of it, and what they say is an increase of it. But I think it's time that we start to bring new opportunity to the table, and that's all we've been trying to do since December of last year, is say, hey, we have opportunity here to use antibodies and to help heal. And we've just been met with resistance, which is really kind of never made sense. Herd immunity exists, and that's what we're fighting for with that decision looming. We need to keep this in mind as Canadians. Herd immunity. Canadian Food Inspection Agency from some cattle that just got killed and other animals that are being killed. Other farm owners are saying it's like Canadian Food Inspection Agency thinks that we can just go get new ones. And we're losing decades of genetic building, healthy genetics, and we're going back to ground zero. And ground zero for natural immunity is very scary, because if we don't have natural immunity and antibodies, we will become reliant on vaccinations, which the pharmaceutical company is very happy about, because then that's who we make the money for. But we are fighting for Canadians. And if we can't use our voices in this calm, peaceful way of a demonstration like we've done here, to stand up for our voices, a better way, new protocols, new policy, this isn't a left issue and this isn't a right issue. This is an issue that is up or down. Do we choose to go up from here, or do we choose to go down? And it's a political neutral. And I wish more leaders and more politicians would see that this is a neutral political situation. We have to do the right thing for our agricultural sector, for humanity, and we got to start looking at how can we work together
Mhm.
to mitigate this issue.
You're right. It's definitely nonpartisan. And I too wish more had spoken out. But to be
Yeah,
honest, a lot have. I know your MP, Scott Anderson, with the Conservatives, has gone to bat with you. That last letter he put out was really telling. And you're right, a
yeah.
lot of this doesn't make sense with the
Hmm.
international pushback, some domestic pushback, the
Yeah.
science behind it, and the fact that although rare, the CFIA has granted sort of exemptions and allows
Hmm.
some things to slide. You would think that your flock, considering it's not poultry and its purpose in science, would have been one of those exemptions, but here
That's
we
right.
are. Now, in this time of something else that also doesn't make sense, whereas we've waited, September 22nd was when the
Mhm.
CFIA and the officers descended on your farm. Since then, they've been there. The CFIA has seized much of your property, your neighbor's property, and the herd, instead of just letting you care for them while we
Yeah.
awaited this decision that's to come on Thursday.
You know
That,
what's really
yeah.
interesting there, Drea, is September 22nd, we've received an email from Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and it stated in there that they
Mhm.
requested us to feed and water the animals to help them. Now, when my mom and I got arrested, which they're trying to criminally charge us for, we were just doing that. We were not impeding the officers. We were not blockading gates. We were not doing anything besides asking to maintain feeding the animals, to keep them in a routine of calmness while their whole environment was about to change. And then we got told we could feed, and then we were arrested. What kind of Canada, what kind of country do we live in? There was nothing wrong by us just wanting to maintain comfort and routine with our animals while their life was about to change. And then we have to remember that that interim stay order states very clearly that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency was to maintain custody. Maintain custody is important because that means remain status quo. It didn't mean barbarically push all of our injured animals out of their injured pen into the general population, putting them under stress.
Hmm.
It didn't mean to change their environment. It didn't mean to change their diet. It didn't mean to not work with the farmers, us as the owners, while in custody of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the animals, to not listen to us about what they needed to be eating. Our animals' health condition has been deteriorating ever since the 39 days or 40 days that they've had them.
Hmm.
And the only way we can contact and have contact with them is by email. And you can imagine how frustrating that would be as a farm owner when there's decades of animals that have trusted you to
Hmm.
care for them and protect them. And they are not, you can't help them anymore.
Hmm.
All while we're just trying to go through the proper legal channels. We are doing everything right. And again, our mass killing is not working. We need to stop, I think, reevaluate, and discover new opportunities in which what we've been trying to offer here. And that is just new opportunity to mitigate the risk of avian influenza. Migratory birds are the ones that are passing it along and flying around. It's not our ostriches. Please remember, world, our ostriches, not one of those ostriches that are surviving out there have ever been tested.
Hmm.
So, but then we heard from Canadian Food Inspection Agency that even if they all got tested, that and they were negative, they have to be destroyed.
Hmm.
Nothing makes sense. Were not on our farm from February 26th to September 22nd. Yet they say we have the most virulent threat of avian influenza.
Yes.
Again, doesn't make sense.
I've done a full interview with Dr. Pellick about that claim and why he believes scientifically it makes no sense. We'll link that
Yeah.
below as well. It's on our website, savetheostriches.com. But let's talk about during this time of separation. One of the questions I get all the time is, Drea, the cow, they're disappearing. They're killing them at night. I've made it clear that I personally have not been able to really get my hands on anything beyond the photos that we see.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
that works as some sort of evidence, but it's not everything one would
that's
need to be
right.
able to do a count.
Yeah.
So I haven't really been able to give an answer to the public about that. But why don't you tell us what your concerns are in that area?
The concerns is that we've spent decades with these animals and we know how many are out there. You cannot, the visual number out there is diminished. You go out, they're not at the fences, they're not there when Mike Rude, who's an amazing veteran who's been a supporter here, goes up the mountains and he takes great images from up high, and we cannot count to even their number. We can't count and get to their number. And so you ask yourself, where are they going? Why are Canadian Food Inspection Agency workers working at 2:30 to 4:30 in the morning at the back? What are they doing besides what they should be doing? Maintain custody, food, water, shelter, and humane care, which we have seen visually by photographs and all that from supporters. The humane care is not there. They are neglecting the animals. They are not caring for them like they should be, and it is just not right. And then what do you do when you can't call 911? We
They're
look at the
there. They're already
RCMP,
there. They're
they're
swimming
here.
over your head.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely a tough situation that could be completely mitigated if you were allowed to care for your flock while we waited.
that
Um,
was it. That's it.
Exactly. Now, there was, I should say, the CFIA, of course, is disputing these claims. They've come out with not one, but two counts where they keep saying the animals are between 3 and 3:30. Of course, they
Yeah,
claim they're taking care of the animals. But we do know that at least one more hen appeared to be injured, and it seems not getting the care that that hen
no.
needs. Tell us about that. Just preface that. One more hen in addition to Spirit, in case anybody doesn't know, and Spirit, there was
Mhm.
quite damning evidence that she was neglected to death and ended up dying of
Yep,
dehydration, although the
yep,
CFIA disputes that as well. So tell us about
yeah.
this other hen who appeared to be injured.
Yeah, they were poking her with a long prod and they were pushing her and poking her so she would continue walking, but she could barely walk. We would have been out there treating her. We would have been out there caring for her, making sure she was in an enclosed barn and had hay and water. And she'd be getting better by now. We can't have a visual on her. They won't answer us about her. And again, why can't we just be allowed in, even if we're not allowed our phone? Just allow us in to assess her, care for her, and come out. That's
Mhm.
all we're asking for while in their custody. And again, that is part of the established humane care. None of this makes sense, and the world is watching. I don't understand where we live in a world where there's cameras everywhere.
Mhm.
And RCMP have cameras, body cams, to be held accountable for their actions. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency operating with so much power and so life in their hands, why do they not have to do the same?
Mhm.
They should have some sort of level of protection to protect them on the way they handle people's animals, but they don't,
Well,
because they operate with excessive freedom and no accountability.
you're right. There is no accountability. I'm reminded of them
No.
blocking your cameras. And when you said, why can't you guys just go in and care for this bird? I'm reminded of the last time where they did let Dave come in for a few minutes to look at Spirit before she died, and it exposed their incompetence.
So there's been no other treatment to her. Like,
She has access to water, she has been drinking, and she's had access to food and hay.
and where was she this morning?
The same spot. She's been in this area moving around.
Yesterday she was here.
Yeah.
Okay, but if she was fed today, access to food and water, she's got water there, zero food, right?
Dave, she just said that she was here when we were feeding, and she's been moved over there since we fed her this morning.
Okay, she was over there this morning.
Over here this morning.
So much to unpack there. I'm preparing to come back down to expose what
Great.
I hope is another miracle, and if not, to expose what
Yeah.
the CFIA has been trying to get away with. But Why don't we end on some other heartbreaking news that you experienced today, I believe, as we're filming this, which is Monday.
Yeah.
And that is the loss of a supporter who's been there a long time during the fight, named Tom.
Yeah. We lost a family member today. And that's what's happened here is in 11 months, we've gained family. Um, Everybody who just wants a better Canada and wants to see life win. And Tom was that. He was courageous, he was positive, he was loving, and he wanted to see these animals survive. And
Yeah.
he was here and he died on the farm, and he was surrounded by his family because we were all there. And that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for life versus death. This is a spiritual war. It's good versus evil and prayer. We need the world to pray right now. This is, I think, some of the most prayed upon land right now in the world. And we need to continue to do that because when we pray, we bring hope. And when we bring hope, we bring God. And these animals need all the love and prayer that we can give them. And we can try to set the stage right because right now, Canadian Food Inspection Agency has eroded the trust in Canadians, and they're actually putting humanity at risk right now more than ever because if there was a true violent threat and farmers don't want to call it in because they are nervous about losing everything they have, then what happens if there is a real threat and we're not calling it in because there's an agency that's gone rogue
Exactly.
with too much power? So it was a hard day, but we're going to keep fighting for Tom. And we know we gained another angel warrior up there, and he's going to be fighting for those ostriches, I know, from another beautiful place. So it was a hard day, but it reminded all of us how fragile life is. And it also reminded us how lucky we are to have one another here fighting for something that we love.
Well, I had the pleasure of interacting with Tom a few
Mhm.
times while I was there. He was always a staple there.
Yeah,
We'll end this report, of course, in memory of him and a little
thank
bit
you.
of a clip of him dancing with the birds. Thank you very much, Katie. I'll be seeing you
Thanks, Drea.
soon.
Thanks, Drea.
Let me know in the comments what you're thinking, how you're feeling about this decision coming down this Thursday, and I will tell you mine when I get there on the ground. You can support our coverage to be there for you at savetheostriches.com.